the first quarter of 2020, when COVID-19 fought humanity with a fierceness that rattled all the nations of the earth to a lockdown, scientists worked tirelessly to meet the collective demand of the majority, which was a vaccine to prevent the virus. Providentially, in the final weeks of the tumultuous 2020, several vaccines were released with an impressive percentage of efficacy by all available brands. However, controversial opinions, especially on social media, circulated widely ahead of the medical breakthrough. As it were, suspicion about COVID-19 and its vaccines now obtains. We shall be evaluating this growing conviction in the Nigerian context on Panorama today, coming to you from the Lagos Network Center of the NTA. I am Dotun Ogunyemi. Welcome. Part of its determination to ensure the success of the social housing scheme, where the Buhari administration will construct 300,000 houses under the economic sustainability plan for low-income earning Nigerians, cement manufacturers have agreed with the federal government to charge discount price, making the disclosure over the weekend while visiting the completed model houses in Dede at the Federal Capital Territory. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo affirmed it is indeed possible to deliver decent and affordable accommodation that will be within the reach of many Nigerians.
That each of these houses will not exceed 2 million naira, which is the target, so that on the average, anybody who is earning 30,000 naira a month, if you're ready to spend a third of that amount, there's about 10,000 or less every month, you'll be able to afford one of these houses. That's the plan. And what I've seen so far, there's a one-bedroom unit and then there's a two-bedroom unit, both coming under 2 million naira. And I think that this is a good thing indeed, and I think that the point has been made that it is possible to build, good, decent accommodation that isn't out of the reach of practically everyone. So we're hoping that we'll be able to replicate this, not just here in Abuja, but of course across the country.
Shows that the mass housing program will be provided across the country. He noted that the job creation component of the economic sustainability plan would also be actualized through the social housing scheme. And meanwhile, it was another moment of joy for more than 4,000 rural women across the 27 local government areas of Jigawa State as they began to receive 20,000 naira each under the federal government rural women grant. Mohammed Musa Askira reports that the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development flagged off the disbursement in Dutse.
Mariamu is one out of 4,320 rural women beneficiaries of this grant in Jigawa and part of the 125,000 rural women earmarked for the program nationwide. This is in addition to 150,000 indigenous citizens receiving 5,000 naira stipend from the federal government's conditional cash transfer in the state. Before the advance of the present administration, Jigawa indigenes, particularly the rural dwellers, were judged to be among the most vulnerable and poor in the country. But the various federal government's social intervention programs, coupled with that of Governor Muhammadu Badru Abubakar, have changed the economic fortune of this stratum of citizens in the state.
It is expected that a lot of them, if not all, are going to use this 20,000 grant for the upliftment of themselves out of poverty. And this has always been a cardinal principle of the Muhammadu Buhari administration.
The Jigawa State Focal Person National Social Investment Program, Bala Usman Chamo, says federal government's various intervention programs such as Empower, Homegrown School Feeding Program and the Conditional Cash Transfer impacted on the lives of citizens in the state. Cross-section of the beneficiaries also commended the federal government for the support. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
From that now, the aviation industry is backing on the proposed COVID-19 vaccine to stimulate recovery faster than earlier envisaged. But experts are suggesting that in order to turn threats into opportunities in 2021, domestic airline operators must harness cargo services to augment loss while exploring the possibility of night operations at the nation's airports. Michael Olaleye reports.
With an estimated 7.3 million passengers passing through the Murtala Muhammed International Airport in 2019, the foundation for growth in the coming years was already built, but tragedy of COVID-19 and necessitated the grounding of flight operations, millions of jobs. But the ray of hope is that man has found a way to fly again. In the midst of the survival of the industry has become a topical issue, and experts are optimistic that 2021 is the year that the aviation industry will rediscover its glorious days.
Go public. Let the airlines go public. If you can go public and get a little bit of technical assistance, as most of these countries were even trying to hail, like Emirates.
They say establishing new markets for airline carriers must be backed up with rebates and waivers.
One is to open a special window for the airlines to access the foreign exchange, which should be much lower than the prevailing black market rate. Also, I think it is time for the agencies and other service providers, especially those owned by government, to begin to work out waivers, subsidies, and reduction in charges.
The light at the end of the tunnel is that we have a vaccine, and with that vaccine, we hope the recovery will be expedited, meaning that the growth, or rather the going back to the passenger level pre-COVID will come sooner than.
Stakeholders are optimistic that the future is bright and the aviation industry remains the only vehicle for stimulating the anticipated growth in the midst of COVID-19. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Nigeria is not a failed state and cannot be a failing state. This is according to the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who stated this at a media briefing in Lagos. Anthony Forson has the details.
Failing or failed state.
The minister said a handful of jaundiced analysts have sustained a negative wish for the nation by spewing fake news and hate speech to promote hatred among the citizens, as well as to marketing the country abroad.
It is all a ruse aimed at depicting Nigeria as being in a constant state of anarchy, just so they can achieve their nefarious objectives. If Nigeria was not a failing state, when a large slice of its territory, equivalent to the size of Belgium, was under the occupation of Boko Haram, which collected taxes, installed and deposed emirs, is it now that no territory is under the terrorists that Nigeria will be a failing state?
To organizations promoting the present administration in bad light in the international arena, Lai Mohammed warned that Nigeria will not cede its sovereignty.
Let me say straight away that Nigeria is fending off attacks on many fronts, not just from terrorists and bandits, but also from some human rights organizations and the International Criminal Court, ICC. We seem to have colluded to compound the challenges facing the country in the area of security. While our security agencies continue to battle these bandits and terrorists, the ICC and some international human rights organizations, especially the Amnesty International, have constituted themselves to another fighting force against Nigeria, constantly harassing our security forces and threatening them with investigation and possible prosecution over alleged crimes against humanity and war crimes.
The minister, whose media briefing chronicled the giant strides of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration, said it is disheartening that citizens whose duty it is to protect the integrity of the country have formed a colony of antagonists poised to pull down Nigeria.
Unfortunately, a section of the local media has been parroting these organizations without weighing the impact of their constant threats on the security of the nation.
However, the minister assured that even though Nigeria has slipped into recession, mechanisms to pull it out is on the fast track. Giving account of the security situation in the country, the minister conceded that there are challenges, but Nigeria is better off under President Muhammadu Buhari. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
A renewed initiative by a Kaduna-based Islamic scholar, Sheikh Ahmad Mahmood Gumi, to de-radicalize youth in remote communities of the state and sensitize them on the real tenets of Islam against acts of criminality is making significant impact. Sulaiman Abdullahi Rigachikum has details.
Door to door and community to community, beginning with those along the Abuja-Kaduna highway. The scholar moves to Fulani settlements, interfacing with the inhabitants to spread religious knowledge and Allah's commandment against acts of criminality. This engagement is targeted at reducing the menace of banditry, kidnapping, and other social evils. Sheikh Ahmad Mahmoud Gumi says the initiative was born out of the realization of the need for the nomads to understand the basis of Islamic religion.
People are known to be reserved, have suddenly turned into monstrous people. So there must be a reason. So after studying the reason from clips we see published by the police, Nigerian police, from the people they caught, we understand that they have lack of the basic knowledge about religion. And religion, whatever kind of religion one professes.
I'm not sure the military component of the radicalization includes the aspect of the clergy and the imams. That has to be brought in, particularly the imams.
The exercise is expected to involve religious leaders irrespective of sect or affiliation. Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachkun, NTA News. NTA News.
We'll take a commercial break. Panorama continues. Many thanks for staying with us. In the absence of a cure for COVID-19, experts say the vaccine is the most important option for prevention. Hingenujan Adams in this report takes a look at the receptiveness of Nigerians towards the COVID-19 vaccine as the nation awaits its allocation.
In 2019, when COVID-19 broke out in Wuhan, China, the world did not predict that it was going to be a protracted global challenge that will bring the planet to its knees. As the virus violently dug its claws on nations, threatening human existence and economies, busy in laboratories seeking solutions. Their labor produced the vaccines currently in circulation in some Western countries. This breakthrough, however, did not come without controversies, most of which border on the viability of the COVID-19 vaccine. While some Nigerians are open-minded about taking the vaccine, others are skeptical and are ready to shun it.
I wouldn't take it. You don't want to take something you are not totally sure about.
I don't really believe that it's really a vaccine that can prevent the COVID-19.
Once I'm sure that it's genuine and it's from right source, why not? I can take it.
Although the approved vaccines are being applied, medical experts say researches are ongoing.
My institution, as we have said before in other fora, involved in experimental trial of our own local vaccine using the Nigerian strains.
There should also be a check on it as to regarding its safety, effectiveness, and the quality.
Although there have been claims by many about the side effects of the vaccine, experts say when the vaccine gets to Nigeria, its safety and efficacy will be ascertained before it is administered to citizens. In Lagos, Hengino John Adams, NTA News.
Joining me now live via Zoom is Dr. Ganiu Jamiu, a public health physician, to take this conversation about the COVID-19 vaccine a little bit further. Many thanks for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to participate in the discussion.
All right, now let's get to it. Medically speaking, how is the COVID-19 vaccine different from other vaccines that have been developed over time for several diseases and other viruses?
Actually, you said it all. Why the COVID-19 is a vaccine, and it will remain a vaccine like every other vaccine. But the only issue is that this is the first time we are developing a vaccine within a year because of the emergency nature of the pandemic. And as you can see, in the past, every other vaccine we are developing over a longer period. Because of the urgency, considering the high mortality and morbidity, this is the first time we're having a vaccine developed within a year. And apart from that, other vaccine goes through Food and Drug Administration approval, but this for that of COVID vaccine, it is we call it emergency use authorization. It has not really passed through the normal routine protocol. And just to also highlight it, it was developed from the rhizosomal RNA. That I don't want to use it call the bigger terminology. So that is from a fraction of the COVID virus. Yes, the SARS-CoV virus too. Yes. Thank you.
All right, Doctor. And just from what you rightly said, the emergency nature of this particular virus made the vaccine quite urgent. How do we now place this with the fear rising globally now about that the dangers of these vaccines? Is there any belief? Is this true? Is the vaccine dangerous?
Well, I don't want to use the word dangerous. But one thing I want to make clear is the fact that there is no vaccine or drug that doesn't have side effects. And as I've said, why people are a bit scared is because of the fact that and it is yet to be, there are still more to be documented about the virus. And as you can see, in every development of vaccine or drugs, they usually follow through some procedure. We call it clinical trial. And I don't think the vaccine viral development is an exception to the previous vaccines we all have. It has actually gone through different processes, but just that it is in the phase 4. In clinical trial, that's what we call phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. The issue we're having now is on phase 4. And what do we mean by phase 4 is that it is still undergoing some study. We are just trying to document some other safety things, some other rare side effects that were not discovered during the third phase of the development of the vaccine. And I want to point it very clear, there is no vaccine that doesn't have side effects. And you've heard of cases of some vaccines, like, I don't want to mention, like the vaccine we use for whooping cough, some could lead to convulsion, fever, and so on. So the COVID vaccine is not actually different for every other virus. Every vaccine has its own side effect. It's just like the severity that varies from one or the other. Yes.
And like just what we saw in that report, some Nigerians, when we sampled their opinion, have said that they would not be taking this vaccine if and when it is made available. How does the government now begin to convince people, or the World Health Organization, or medical experts, to convince them that it is safe and it is only for their own good interest?
Yes, the idea of not, wanting to take the vaccine is not an exclusion to Nigeria. It is a global issue, and the reason is because people are still skeptical. People believe that there is more to be known about the vaccine. Just like in US, there was a survey that was carried out sometimes in the middle of December 2020, where it was discovered that about 35% of the health workers were not willing to take the virus, only about 33% or so, and the other number said they were not even will not be obliged to take that vaccine. So it's not actually different from Nigeria, and I want to point it clear that it's because of the general anxiety, fear that of the fact that it's a new virus and there is a lot of things that is yet to be known about the virus, and coupled with the fact that there are a lot of videos here and there. But one thing I want to make very clear is that we have what we call the anti-vax. They've been on globally, and it is not peculiar to COVID-19 vaccine. We've had issues with anti-vax movements in US, in Europe, whereby they discourage people from taking other vaccines like that of measles, hepatitis, and so on. So it is not actually peculiar to COVID-19 vaccines. We have people that generally, even in Nigeria, there was a time we had problem with rejection of polio vaccine. So it's not actually peculiar to the COVID-19. Why there is general anxiety and apprehension as regards to COVID-19 is because of the new nature of the vaccine. But my suggestion is that I will advise that we need to pay more attention to educate the general public, because even before the discovery of those vaccines, there have been general fatigue as regards to COVID-19, a lot of misconception, belief that it does not really exist in the country. So we need to really work hard. We don't. And what I mean by that, we need to actually plan, not plan before even the arrival of the vaccine in the country. And what we need to do is we need to sensitize, create public awareness as regards to this vaccine. And apart from that, we need to have a kind of committee that will be set up by the government to actually look at how it can be rolled out in the country. And maybe we may try to, carry a kind of staggered approach as regards to rolling out of the vaccine. That is starting with a small number to observe because of the general apprehension, after which we may need to scale it up. As I've said, apart from the setting up a committee to look inward, just like the NMA is proposing, we also need to sensitize the general public, and we also need to, as part of our plan, we need to also prioritize in terms of who will benefit from that vaccine at the initial stage. Maybe as I've said, we need a kind of staggered approach as regards to rolling out. Who are the first people to benefit, followed by second and third, just like what is being done in US.
All right, Dr. Ganyu.
Prioritize the health workers.
Just let me quickly ask you this final question before I let you go.
Yes.
Let me ask you this final question before I let you go. When Nigerians eventually begin to take the vaccine, in terms of full nationwide coverage, or for those who need it, like you rightly pointed out, will the safety protocols still be? That's the much we can take from Dr. Ganyu at this time. He joined us via Zoom to talk about the acceptance of the COVID-19 vaccine when it is indeed made available.